While climate change is a global phenomenon, the magnitude of its impacts varies significantly across different regions. Rural communities' livelihoods and food security are supported by various ecosystem services such as provision of fresh water, regulation of floods, support of nutrient cycling and pollination, as well as enhancement of aesthetic experience. Climate change, coupled with human-induced changes in land use and land cover, directly impacts the health of ecosystems and consequently that of ecosystem services. The climate change impacts on ecosystem services and food security in Eastern Africa, better known as CHIESA, is a 4-year research and development project funded by the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland and coordinated by the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology, ICIPE, in Nairobi, Kenya. As its name suggests, the key objective of the project is to assess and share knowledge of the impacts of climate change on ecosystem services in the agroecological zones of mountain ecosystems in Eastern Africa. The ultimate goal of the CHIESA project is to contribute to local and regional development by utilizing scientific knowledge to design, develop, and implement adaptation options and strategies. The project also builds the climate change adaptation capacity of East African research institutions, stakeholder organizations, and decision makers through research collaboration and training.
The ultimate objective of the project is to develop adaptation options and strategies, including the adaptation management framework, which is a more policy-oriented outcome. And these are developed not only by the project components themselves, but in collaboration with local communities and local governments, so that they can be better integrated into existing and future policies in the 3 countries. Currently we are only working in 3 selected sites in Ethiopia, in Tanzania and in Kenya. But in the future our goal is to expand the methods and monitoring to other mountain environments in Eastern Africa, as well as in Western Africa and Southern Africa.
The CHIESA project carries out its activities within 8 distinct components known as work packages. Work Package 1 is the heart of the project. This work package is responsible for overall coordination and planning of the project, specifically financial, logistical, and content oversight. In this work package, remote sensing using satellite imagery and airborne remote sensing data will be applied for land cover mapping and change detection. Geographic Information Systems, GIS, will be used for deriving geospatial datasets for remote sensing data processing and for modeling the ecological, agricultural, and hydrological variables. Work Package 3 provides information about the economic value communities derive from various ecosystem services, which in turn aids decision-making regarding different land use options due to the monetary value involved. Valuation also enhances understanding of the importance that non-market goods and services have in providing and maintaining human welfare. This work package will also identify and characterize the benefits as well as beneficiaries of ecosystem services that are necessary in order to understand the impact a changing climate will have on the livelihoods of communities. Work Package 4 explores the effects of climate and land cover change on biodiversity and habitats. The speed and variability of forecast environmental change has complex implications for agricultural productivity via pollinator species, agricultural pests, and their natural enemies, and thus severely challenges the adaptive capacity of rural communities.
Work Package 4 is looking at the relationships between ecosystems, climate, environment, and key crops and livelihoods. So it's how people interact with their environments, how they interact with their ecosystems, and how that interaction through their land use is going to be impacted on and affected by climate change. So we have a number of different projects within the work package Some are looking at measuring biodiversity, so doing biodiversity surveys. Others are looking at carbon storage, so measuring how much carbon is present within ecosystems. Others are looking at impacts of climate change, so working with the Kenya Met Office doing climate change modelling. And then another project is looking at social use of ecosystems, so how people use their ecosystems and how that use has changed and been impacted by climate change.
Functional agrobiodiversity and their interactions and impacts on production and productivity of target crops will be studied in this work package. Agrobiodiversity in this case refers to the relationship between or status of insect pests and their natural enemies, pathogens, pollinators, soil engineers, decomposers, etc. CHIESA has also selected target crops to feature in the research, namely maize, coffee, avocado, and crucifers. Climate change will impact upon water provision services directly by shifts in precipitation amounts, variability and intensity, potential evapotranspiration, and indirectly by changes in land cover and soil properties. It will aggravate the water stress currently faced in some countries, while others that do not currently experience water stress will become at risk of water stress. In Work Package 6, the impacts of climate and land cover change on water resources and water provision are studied.
Integrated water system management is based on two major facts. One is the nature itself. So if you are taking into account the global water, total water in this world, 97% is not suitable for human consumption, is not suitable for animal consumption, is not even suitable for crop production.
Irrigation may help in water demand, but it is dependent on the conservation of forests to maintain water resources for supplying water for domestic and industrial uses, including hydropower. This work package focuses on instruments, technologies, and practices that are needed to decrease the vulnerability of rural communities to climate change.
Under the Work Package 7 component of the CHIESA project, which deals with the formulation of adaptation strategies, we are dealing with coming up or the formulation of how the community is going to adapt to the impacts of climate change in the three study areas in Kilimanjaro, that is in Tanzania, the Taita Hills in Kenya, and the Jima Highlands in Ethiopia. We are going to combine the results from all the work packages, that is Work Package 2 to Work Package 6, together with what we are researching in Work Package 7, to formulate the adaptation management framework for the three research transit areas. So far we have data on the socio-economic components of Taita Hills. Under that aspect, we are planning to get the socio-economic data for Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania and Jima Highlands in Ethiopia. Further to that, we also have data on the socio-economic vulnerability factors of these communities. These are just the factors that contribute to them experiencing the impact of climate change.
Dissemination of project results and findings constitute the Work Package 8. To ensure sustainability of these results, CHIESA will undertake excessive training of project partners and stakeholders, including communities in the target areas.
Work Package 8 is the last work package, but not the least. Their role is to disseminate all the information, the outputs, and the findings of those previously mentioned work packages towards the beneficiaries, which include the farmers, the extension agents, the scientists and researchers at the local and national research institutes, the decision makers at the ministry level, as well as in the sectoral parastatal organizations, and then finally to the general public using different types of media such as TV, radio, and organizing workshops, conferences, and so on.
There is a general lack of information on the impacts of climate change on sensitive and unique mountain ecosystems and on their services, especially with regard to agriculture and food security in sub-Saharan Africa. This knowledge gap reflects an overall deficit of on-the-ground capacity to address climate change research and development.
We hope to be able to sort of take all of these insights from our own individual work package, and obviously there's 8 packages within the CHIESA project, so the idea is that we then link with all of the other work packages to really get an informed understanding of the relationships between people, their environment, crops, pests, pollinators, and how all of that interaction between the different components has been impacted on by climate change, so that we can then impart that knowledge to people at the coalface, so people who are actually living in those areas, but also to policymakers, to government officials, to international organizations, so that they can then develop appropriate policies.
Enhancing on-the-ground capacity of stakeholders requires that the project will support various training activities such as degree programs, workshops, and short courses targeted to staff members of stakeholder organizations. CHIESA project will as well engage local communities in planning, design, and implementation of the identified adaptation options, and will widely disseminate project results and target awareness-raising campaigns to the public.